Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing great out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day, a great ending to your week, and beginning to your weekend out there so far. Here to break down the latest on what's going on with the weather. First thing we'll talk about is the tropics. Big time hurricane out here in the Atlantic, and a soon to be hurricane Leslie here in the next several days behind what is the big time hurricane, which is Hurricane Kirk. So we'll speak on both. I don't think either one of these systems are going to bother anybody, especially Hurricane Kirk. We're highly confident this will continue to turn out to sea. But Leslie, we certainly still need to watch it and see if it has any tricks up its sleeve or anything like that. But I don't think it does. I think eventually this is going to turn out to sea. It just might turn a little bit later than what Kirk has. So we'll speak on this area of interest in the Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean. It's pretty much the Gulf of Mexico now. Leftover energy from the Eastern Pacific is going to try to get going in the Gulf of Mexico over the next several days. We'll talk about that. We'll break down your forecast for your Friday, and then we'll give you some updated info on this cold front on the way for late this weekend into early next week that a lot of people are looking forward to, including your boy Mitch. I am really looking forward to this cold front. So with that being said, if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. We are praying for everybody across the southeast that were negatively impacted by Hurricane Helene. Folks, there's a lot of people, even outside the mountains, that are really having a hard time right now. Georgia, South Carolina, North Florida, some of these smaller towns and communities in like South Carolina, Georgia, Augusta, and surrounding areas is a huge area, but even areas south of Augusta through central Georgia, east central Georgia have just been devastated. I mean, entire forests just almost wiped out. The National Weather Service out of Columbia, did some surveys, and they're saying like 75-80% of some of these pine tree forests have just been completely wiped out. So pretty wild stuff what Hurricane Helene did. But let's get going here. So let's make sure this is going to work for us. It was acting up a little earlier. It's doing good now. That is Hurricane Kirk, Category 4, 145 mile per hour major hurricane. Not bothering anybody. Just literally right out here in the central North Atlantic. We got Leslie behind it. Still a tropical storm forecast to become as high end as a Category 2 hurricane. This is going to continue to turn out to sea. And, we just got to watch. This one could turn out to sea, Leslie, a little bit later. But we are going to continue to definitely check out Leslie as far as that track. And then we're just watching this unsettled weather over here in the Bay of Campeche, Gulf of Mexico, for something to get going over the next several days. So that's what's going on right now. I mean, Hurricane Kirk is definitely an eyesore. You can literally see the eye of the system. And this is a broad look at things too. So it really tells you the health is very well on Hurricane Kirk right now. So we continue to move forward here. We look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Leslie, 60 mile per hour, a tropical storm. Kirk, a 145 mile per hour, a major hurricane, 934 millibar storm moving northwest at 10 miles per hour. So it's already starting to move north. It has been for the last couple days. And then we got this area of interest that's bumped up from a 30 to a 40% chance of development. So, at once it was a 50% chance, and it went down to a 40, then it went down to a 30 yesterday. Now it's back up to a 40. So there's a 40% chance in this orange area for a depression or a named storm, next name is Milton, to get going in this orange area. So we're going to watch this, and we're going to go over the model guides on it here in a second. So just to look at the cone here, 145 mile per hour Kirk will remain a Category 4 hurricane for probably the next 24 to 36 hours. But look, as you zoom out, this is heading out into the North Atlantic, and this could bring impacts to areas of Europe. So we certainly need to watch that. And then we got Tropical Storm Leslie behind it. Should become a hurricane sometime tomorrow and could become a Category 2 hurricane by late Sunday into Monday morning. And the peak intensity on this is just shy of a Category 3 major hurricane. It's at a 110 Category 2 hurricane and could potentially be exactly where Kirk is right now by midway next week. So definitely two systems, one already a big time system, one is on its way to becoming one. So we'll definitely watch it. And just some model guidance on both of these systems. Okay, Kirk is right here out in front, Leslie behind it. Kirk will continue to go out to sea As we get into Sunday, you can see the millibar dropping on Leslie, indicating a strengthening storm system. We get into Monday, we get into Tuesday. GFS says, hey, this is turning out to sea also. It drifts a little bit further west, but eventually does weaken and turn out to sea as we get into next weekend. Doesn't bother anybody. And the Euro, what does this one do? Euro, same thing with Kirk. There it is, heading north, going out your screen. Here comes Leslie, starting to drift north. That's good, that's good, that's good. And it actually just flat out weakens. And there's another system behind it actually that develops too and just immediately goes north. So the good news about the main development region this year, and just the tropical Atlantic, same thing, is, most of our tropical systems besides Beryl, really, really early in hurricane season, have just been turning out to sea. And we really weren't expecting this. But it's been a nice change of pace, and the good news is all these strong systems continue to look to turn out to sea. So that's the good news. And just to look at some of this ensemble guidance, this goes out about all the way to about next Wednesday and a Thursday. This streaking line right here is Kirk, but this right here is Leslie. And I don't know if you tuned in yesterday morning's video, but we had a ton of members way over here. And since they have trended significantly further north and northeast. Okay, so we still got some members down here. They're hanging a little bit far west, but this really, as far as a 24-hour trend, has trended further out to sea. So that's good news. We'll continue to check this out. And, if we do go, another, let's just go 240 hours out. Still, almost all of them turn out to sea. All of them do. Every single member turns out to sea. So that's good news there. So, getting a little bit closer to home, talking about, the Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean. You see these splotches of colors. This indicates storm and just tropical activity, just shower and storm activity. The colder cloud tops are indicated by these colors in like whites, which tells us that, these updrafts are soaring up pretty high up in the atmosphere. The higher up you get, the colder it gets. This is indicated by the colors here. So what we watch here is if anything can get going here in the Bay of Campeche, Gulf of Mexico here, any kind of consolidation of energy. And what happened was an invest and in the Eastern Pacific has really moved over, what is a pretty, small area of landmass as Mexico, in this particular area of Mexico, okay? And this has actually moved back over the water, and we just have to watch to see if any kind of energy can get going. There's actually a little gnarly spin right here over the Yucatan that we, that is definitely, I'm actually noticing this on the fly, believe it or not, but you can actually see this spin right here. So we have to watch for any kind of rotation, circulation that can consolidate, really get going, and maybe develop into a tropical cyclone and then head one way or the other. And if you look at the latest GFS, and I will tell you, in last night's runs, they were a little bit, not concerning, but they were trending in the wrong direction. They calmed down a little bit overnight. And if we look at the GFS, regardless, a lot of tropical moisture for Florida. Okay, we start to get into Sunday. Look at all these, all this green splotches of yellow, orange, red. This tells us we're going to have a lot of tropical moisture for the state of Florida, regardless of any kind of tropical system fully developing. So Monday, man, look at all this moisture here. We're getting into Tuesday. It does develop a 999 millibar low and moves it into Florida. I mean, and this is right out ahead of us too, guys. That's the thing, is this isn't going to happen, in 7 to 10 days. I think if this happens, it could happen as early to midway next week. Okay, but this does push a tropical cyclone into Florida, just not a very strong one. Dumps a lot of heavy tropical rains, and then this tries to get going again off the coast of the southeast and then heads on out to sea and then tries to develop something else here. It gets kind of weird. But regardless, a lot of rain over, the course of next week for Florida. What about the Euro? Euro has actually been a bit aggressive here, which typically is the other way around, normally a conservative model. But, we get into Sunday, already a ton of tropical rains down here in Florida, especially the southern half of the peninsula of Florida. We get into Tuesday. Look at this low developing down here at the bottom of your screen, 999 millibar low. Keeps it sub 1,000 here, which tells me this could be a tropical storm. And then basically takes a weak tropical storm right into the southwest coastline Wednesday. And into the southwest coastline of Florida as a tropical storm. Getting my words twisted up there. But there's already a ton of moisture out ahead of this. I mean, this is Tuesday. This is Wednesday. and it actually really gets this going off the coast of the southeast and fully develops this into a tropical system. Strong tropical storm, low in category 1 hurricane, and then heads on out to sea. So interesting stuff. You even look at the Euro AI model, which by the way has done very well. Takes this all the way to a sub 1,000 millibar low Tuesday morning. Continues to throw a ton of heavy rain, tropical rains into Florida, and makes landfall into southwest Florida. So there's actually been some model agreement of some sort of weak tropical storm, could be Milton, developing and then just very quickly going across Florida. But I think there'll be a lot of rain ahead of this. Could be a lot of rain behind this too. So what I'm trying to say is, Florida, I would watch out for a weak tropical storm sometime next week. An all-out hurricane, you can't rule it out. But if we're looking at the model guidance here, we're actually going to go a little bit further out. Let's go about 150 hours out. This is the European ensemble. There is some strong members in here. Some members get hung up down here. Some members, and this is between now and late Wednesday night of next week, some members have already raced across Florida. Some have not even made it to Florida. And some of these are hurricanes. Some of these are weaker models, weaker runs. But I will add that some of them are flat out hurricanes. So we're not done with watching this. But we're not getting a whole lot of members doing all kinds of crazy stuff anymore where they'll kind of form here and do all like this. I mean, we're starting to get a solid agreement that something's going to try to really get going here and then scoot slowly or either quickly across, this way right here. So Florida, no doubt, you're getting rain. A lot of rain. South Florida, like the peninsula of Florida. Are you going to get a full-fledged tropical system? It's a big question. But speaking of rain, southwest Florida, man. You get south of Tampa, down to, Fort Myers. I mean, somebody could get potentially 10 inches of rain, but a lot of rain. There's a big cutoff up here in North Florida. Big cutoff, but several inches of rain. Somebody could get a foot. You take a kind of zoomed out look here, and there's a big cutoff. It could get very dry up here quick, believe it or not, up here in Georgia and South Carolina and areas further north. But there's a big cutoff because a cold front is going to come in. A lot of dry air is going to pretty much cut off all this moisture transport north. Okay, but regardless, Florida's getting a lot of rain. So that's an update on the tropics. As far as what's happening closer to home, complex of energy moving through northern Illinois right now. Shower and storm action. We got some tropical moisture that's kind of pushing into the Gulf states this morning. And we got a big system moving into the Pacific Northwest. We're definitely starting to get more into storm season up here for sure. So where we start to get these big, Pacific storms that move onshore into the Pacific Northwest. Middle of the country, pretty quiet. Watches, warnings, and advisories, just a slew of red flag warnings where we have a fire danger, a lot of heavy winds, strong winds. It's going to be whipping through this area, dry conditions. We got high wind warnings, high wind watches. We got freeze warnings behind this. We got freeze warnings going on right now. So definitely a lot going on. You can tell when we're in spring or when we're in fall because of these red flag warnings and high wind watches and warnings, because that's when you get the changing of the seasons. That's when you get the erratic drops in the jet stream. And we are certainly already starting to get that, which is perfectly normal for this time of the year. We got excessive heat warnings in this purple color, heat advisories in the orange, but the eastern U.S. is pretty quiet. No risk of flash flooding, below 5%, not even showing up. And then the risk of thunderstorms, just a general risk in this green area, not a big deal at all. The southeast, we got some Gulf moisture that will continue to funnel northward. I think southeast Louisiana, extreme southern, like the coastal regions of Mississippi and Alabama, will just get some shower activity, storm activity. But even up into the southeast, the Carolinas, Georgia, even the Apps could get some shower and storm activity. I don't think these will reach severe limits, but don't let it catch you by surprise if you get a storm here in the mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee, surrounding areas. And then just some tropical rains are possible. Dance around here across the peninsula of Florida, outflow boundary driven. I think once we get into this evening, rain might let up a little bit along the Gulf Coast, but could build right back in for tomorrow morning. So the Northeast, not a whole lot going on. Some showers could drift into the interior New England area. Could get a storm or two in northern VA, south of the D.C. area. Then we're going to get some showers. Let's back this up a little bit. Some showers that will drift through Maine, maybe areas of Vermont and New Hampshire overnight. So you might wake up to a wet ground up here in Maine and just some shower activity. So The south central U.S., we've kind of already spoken about Louisiana, but we're going to get some shower and storm activity in southern Texas too. Look at these storms kind of south of Corpus Christi down to Brownsville, Texas for this afternoon, this evening. I think this will let up a little bit, but could continue to get some of it overnight. But the rest of everybody you see on your screen here, quiet weather. The plains have continued to be pretty quiet. The north central U.S., that energy will continue to move into Indiana and probably weaken that we're getting this morning in Illinois. The rest of the Great Lakes and Midwest and upper Midwest area, quiet weather, nice day of weather. Not a whole lot going on. Western U.S., the Rockies, etc. Look at this big system that will continue to move in this morning. Definitely going to get a lot of heavy rain in the Seattle area. This will move over the Cascades. This will dump some heavy snow in those higher elevations. And this system will start to lose a little bit of its moisture as it continues to move towards the Rockies. We'll get some rain, maybe higher elevation snow in northern Idaho. And then this system will start to move into Montana this evening. Winds will really kick up, and then it will become moisture starved. That's why you have all those red flag warnings, because this system is not going to bring a lot of moisture into the Rockies areas, unfortunately. But the winds, very strong. Karen out here says this is pretty normal. But I do want to show it to you guys just in case, strong winds, even in the lower elevations. Obviously, the Rockies, you're going to get, hurricane force winds up here, 75, 80 mile per hour wind gusts, but definitely strong winds across the northern Rockies. My neighbor's dog is barking for no reason. Well, there's always a reason a dog barks, but you get what I'm saying. Just a very loud, just right through my house walls bark for whatever reason, but you probably don't even hear it. But anyways, the northern plains, very windy conditions will develop here too. We'll take this out a little bit further. Sunday morning, 50, 60, maybe 65 mile per hour wind gusts across North Dakota, South Dakota. Strong winds as far south as southern Wyoming. So definitely a strong wind event across this area. Be aware of this. And then temperatures, still warm. Obviously the cold front has not came yet, which we'll talk about here in a second. But warm across the southern plains and the south central U.S. It's definitely, still feels like summer in some of these areas, 80s and 90s across the southern plains. Even warm, ahead of this big storm system, this cold front, pretty warm all the way into the northern Rockies, 70s and 80s, warm in these valley areas. So, this is above average for sure, temperature-wise. So, a pretty warm, breezy day up here for sure. So, cold front is on the way. Below average temperatures predicted for the extreme eastern U.S. states. Confidence is extremely high for above average temperatures across the middle and the western portion of the country. So we're going to talk a lot about the eastern U.S. here. So we're going to look at the Euro. This is dew points, not temperatures. Dew points in the 60s and higher. Typically is associated with more humid air. Once you get into the 50s and lower, that's more of that crisp air, drier air. You get really low, like the 20s and teens. Definitely need that chapstick. So we start this for Sunday morning. You can see where the cold front is, dividing the, more humid air with the dry air with moist air. Okay, we'll continue to move into Sunday afternoon. That cold front is moving across the Midwest, starting to get into the Ohio Valley and areas of the mid-Mississippi Valley at this point. And then we start to get all the way into Monday morning. The cold front has blasted through most of the state of Kentucky, Ohio, getting through West Virginia. Tennessee's then split the state in half. It's moved through Arkansas. And then we start to make our way into Tuesday morning. These are dew points. Remember, still very humid in Florida. But look at these. Look at the humidity dropping like a rock across the southeast, and you're getting dew points even in the 40s. And this is really clearing out the air mass. Might get a little moisture push from all this tropical moisture down here in Florida that might kind of stall and prevent the dry air from really oozing in. But then once that clears, dry air is going to push in fast. And by the time we get about 6 days from now, folks, this dry air is getting all the way down to North Florida. So this is a nice air mass. As far as temperatures, folks, this is low temperature Sunday morning. You can see the cooler air coming. Still very warm out ahead of this cold front. And then we start to get into Monday. And then we get into Tuesday. Man, you might get some upper 30s across areas of the Ohio Valley and the Midwest for sure. We're going to get some sub-freezing temperatures across the Great Lakes region. And then this makes it all the way to the southeast. Look at these 50s all the way in the deep south, which isn't unusual for this time of year at all. But then we get into next Thursday. This is the blend of all models. This is definitely going to tweak a little bit. Look at the chilly temperatures up in the Northeast. The apps, this will definitely get these leaves turning. And then we get into Friday, and we're probably going to get some 40s all the way into the deep south. So definitely a nice air mass on the way. This is definitely one of those air masses, folks, that has longevity to it. It's what you call one of those back-breaking cold fronts, and we talked about that a little bit earlier in the season. But this is one of those cold fronts that has reinforcements. You're probably going to have more pushes of dry and cool air behind this. It happens every year. You just get this one abrupt cold front, and then that's all she wrote with summer. Now, we're still going to get some warm-ups, especially for the south. We can get that all the way throughout the entire year. But this is definitely one of those cold fronts that has staying power as far as the air behind it. So, sorry I rushed through that. Got to get my kids off to school, running a little bit behind this morning. But God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you again soon.